Good morning, everyone. Good morning, my name's James Puddicombe. For the next 45 minutes, I'll be talking about what it says up there, successful online local retailing. And I expect the first question to be, what do I know? Which is a fair question. So for the last 30 years, I've been working in IT. For the last 16 years in internet e-commerce, including being global e-commerce program manager for cable and wireless. And for the last 12 years, in a biography I'd be very proud of, Thomas has already taken us through, I've run Voodoo. We're e-commerce specialists, and Voodoo builds e-commerce platforms. It provides digital marketing. This isn't going to be a whole spiel about my business, by the way. We run business operations, and we provide consultancy on how to use those services and how generally to make the most money out of the use of the internet. We've helped over 300 clients, including some that you'll recognize, and a whole host of small retailers and small businesses throughout the UK that we've helped on the internet. And that's the experience I'll be bringing to the stage today. And as business owners yourselves, you'll know that one of the biggest problems when you're running a business is not coming up with good ideas. There's lots of good ideas. If you said, give me 100 things I could do better in my business, I'm sure we could all come up with a list before breakfast on loads of different things we could do. The real trick is making sure that we prioritize them and we know what the next 1, 2, or 3 things we should be trying to do today, or we should be doing tomorrow, we should be doing this week. And the tool that we use, the process we go through, is called maturity path analysis, and it allows us to examine any business and establish not just what are all the 100 things we could do, but which of those are actually going to make the biggest difference. So I just want to take you a brief view through this because it's relevant for everything else I'm going to talk about today. When we're looking at a business, one of the first things we'll do is we'll analyze what business processes exist within that business. And for each one of them, we'll look at where they've got to in their adoption of the internet. So it might be finance or marketing or buying or selling or customer services. And we'll look at how far they've adopted it. And you won't be surprised to hear that the largest businesses, the ones that have been going for 150 years, are the slowest to be able to change and adopt to the internet in many, many places, even though they've got loads of money and loads of people. So we look at each one of their areas and look at the maturity, and then we compare them. And we normally have a meeting with all the heads of department where we get to compare their maturity. You can imagine just how fun that meeting is. But the point here is to say, it's not that each one of these departments couldn't do something better for the internet. The fact is, any finance director is going to say, I have a limited amount of money, I have a limited amount of time, where should I spend it on my business to make it better? And that's the fundamental thing today about being successful as an online local retailer. It's about we have very limited budgets between ourselves, our money and our time. We need to spend it in the right place, not just a whole list of things we could do. And that's the point for today. Okay, so who do I have up here on the stage with me? I have Mark Platten at the end there. Give us a wave, Mark. He's a senior e-business analyst with Voodoo, and he's going to be around today as I am, and he can answer any of your questions, I'm sure. Also on stage is Moss Hills from StageBeat. StageBeat is a local retailer. You may have heard of them. They sell musical instruments, and the reason Moss has joined me today is because as a local retailer, his maturity, as you can tell, is great. And his business has been adopting the internet in a great way for the last 10 years. And as a small business, as a local business, he's punching well above his weight on the internet, and he's well worth talking to later if you have any questions. In fact, Moss is here to answer all the difficult questions we might get today. Thanks, Moss. What do I know? A little bit of background about me, because it's all about me. But that's enough about me. Let's find out who we've got in the room today. Could you put your hand up if you actually are a local retailer? Or have we just got digital agencies sitting around the table today? Do you actually sell locally? Excellent. And do you sell locally online? So you're actually doing online stuff that's transactional? Excellent. Ooh, another one joining in at the moment who wasn't a local retailer but does sell online. Okay, and another one. It's like an auction. Excellent, okay. So we've got some local retailers actually sell online. Brilliant. And others who are just sort of going to throw rotten tomatoes at me in a minute when my opinion doesn't match theirs. Excellent. Okay, well, just set an expectation for what I'm going to talk about for the next 20 minutes now. I'm not going to give you a bullet point list of how to be successful online, because it isn't that simple. And you're not going to be able to take away a just do this stuff. It's easy. But on the other hand, I'm going to tell you exactly how Voodoo makes its business approaching local retailers and helping them with their strategy. It's definitely going to provoke some thoughts, and I hope it's going to provoke some questions. So if you have a question through it, if you think that's rubbish, I've got a better idea, please shout it out. Okay, let's get into the thick of it, shall we? Right, first of all, I want to look at technical issue. Fortunately, my company's not in charge of technology. My fonts have changed. Everyone still with me? In the room? Oh yeah. Okay, where you are on the value chain. This is absolutely critical when we're starting up a strategy for local retail. You have to understand where it is you're adding value. So what is a value chain? Just brief recap. On this diagram you can see if you're selling products to a consumer, they came from somewhere. They came from raw materials, a manufacturer then put them together. They got imported into the country possibly. They certainly got distributed and they gave to a retailer and out to a consumer. Okay, standard stuff. But when you look at the impact that the internet has had, and certainly distance selling, so I know from the catalogues in the late 1800s in America, but particularly over the internet because of the richness of the media that the internet provides, we go from a value chain that looks like this to one which is open to abuse, open to being disintermediated. People in the middle of the chain can get taken out. Who here can give me an example of a manufacturer that sells directly to consumers? Go. Dell, fantastic, classic example. Manufacturer selling directly to consumers. Give me another one. White does phones. Come on, the clue. Apple, thank you very much. Okay, why doesn't every manufacturer sell to consumers? Say again? You can't reach enough consumers? Yeah, definitely. Anything else? Distribution. Pain in the neck. Anything else? Added value. Yeah, being a retailer is actually doing something. So you're absolutely right, all of you. Doing these things down the chain is mandatory in a way. So actually, being a retailer, you still have to do them all. There's not a major efficiency saving from doing it. Okay, so we've seen some disintermediation already taking place. But if we go back, stay in the lights, stay in the lights. If we go back a couple of hundred years, we'll recognise retailers who used to go up to a conurbation, London or a central town or the docks, and they used to go to wholesalers and distributors, and they would do a couple of things. First of all, they'd pre-select. So they'd pre-select based on what they're able to buy, so how much money they have, what space they have in their shop, and most importantly, who they're going to be selling it to when they get back home. So they select what they want. They then arrange at their own cost, they arrange some shipping to take it back, and they put it in their shop. So they have to store it, and then they promote it. So they put it in the window, and they take out adverts in newspapers, all that sort of thing. And if someone was going to compete with them, they'd probably have to be a retailer in the same town, because the consumers don't move around so much. Okay, point at this point is, if you have to compete against that retailer, you're doing it in the same way. You're going to be in the same town, you're going to have done the same work on pre-selection, transporting of goods and local storage of goods, and local promotion. Okay, well, let's look at a modern-day example. Moss, do you recognise this picture? I do. Yeah, this is Moss's business in Farnborough. Excellent business it is too. So Moss, modern-day retailer, Moss goes to his suppliers. He pre-selects what he's able to buy because he can afford it, because it's going to fit in the shop, because people are going to buy it. Then he has it shipped at his expense, don't you love that, Moss? To his store. And then in his store he promotes it and he makes sure people knows about it. Okay, so he's doing exactly as we're all doing in local retail, the same as we did a couple of hundred years ago. Okay, but we've got a problem. The Germans are coming. So we have online German retailer called Thomann. They're based in Germany. They don't have any local shops, and they're selling across the internet. And to put them into perspective, there are about 900 independent retailers of musical instruments in the UK, and 90% of those turn over less than 1.5 million. Less than 1.5 or a million. So they're relatively small businesses in the scheme of things. Thomann came in a couple of years ago. Last year online, in the UK alone, they turned over £60 million. Okay, so you're a local retailer, you've got someone trouncing into your country, and let's just have a quick look at what they're not having to do. Are they having to pre-select their goods? No, they store them all in a huge warehouse in Germany. So in terms of SKU numbers, in terms of products, they're probably storing 30, 40, 50,000 products. They're not doing a lot of pre-selecting going on there. Transporting of goods. Do they have to take those goods to a local outlet before they sell them? Nope. They just keep them in their warehouse. They don't have to move them. Local storage of goods. Are they sending them to 900 different places around the UK so they can serve them locally? Nope. They store them all in Germany and they ship them to you when you want them. And are they doing local promotion? If you walk up the high street, are you seeing a shop front which says, hey, Thomann stuff? Nope, they're not having to do any of that. And yet they're still making these massive inroads into the local retail environment. I'm going to come back to that. Key question here is, what do local retailers do about it? Well, the natural reaction for a local retailer is to go, I'm going to have a website and I'm going to start selling stuff online. I'm going to start putting loads of products up and I'm going to promote my website. And indeed, today, we're sort of here to listen to exactly how that might work and what the best process is. But there's a warning thought that's been going through the industry. And KPMG, large business consultancy, they concluded back in 2010, you'll have to excuse the fact that their fonts are slightly overlapped. They concluded that for small businesses, and let's take local retailers as small businesses, they've said they think it's too expensive to start up and manage a transactional website. I'm sort of paraphrasing here. Well, does that mean that my presentation stops at this point and we all go and get coffee? No, I would reword what they're saying here. They're pointing out that if you want to compete against Thomann, who have 60 people dedicated simply to the content of their site, local retailers are going to find it very hard to compete against that. So if you're doing transactional websites where you're putting content on, this is going to be a problem, because we don't have enough money, we don't have enough time to put that sort of stuff up. Okay, so what can we do about using the internet if it's not for the transactional side? Well, you've got to ask yourself, where do local retailers add their value? And of course the answer is, it's in the name. Let's look at the advantages of being local. Who can give me an advantage of being local? You get to come and see me. Come on, Zoe. I saw that hand go up. What was it? You were talking about it earlier. Absolutely, you're talking. Community, fantastic. So you can be part of the local community, because people actually live somewhere nowadays. They also have a virtual presence, but they also live places. Anything else? I'm going to crib all of Zoe's notes from earlier. Yeah. Sorry, say again? You get product advice, absolutely. These people know what they're talking about, and you can go and see them, and they'll tell you stuff. Absolutely right. And I would differentiate that from people telling you stuff generically about a product to actually getting personal advice. They can give you personal advice. Yes, Liz? Try before you buy. You can actually try stuff from these places because they trust you and you can take stuff back. Anything else? We're just going to move forward and I'm going to tell you my answers. Just out of interest, has anyone here bought anything from Thomann? Liz, put your hand up. Yes. No, there you go. You buy a piano though and you'll go surfing online and you'll see them. Right, advantages of local, yeah. So the three things I'd pull out, first of all, geography. You're actually local. You're actually there on their doorstep. You're in a high street, or you're actually available to them if they want to drive around. So locals, actually geography, I know it's basic, but you've got to remember you're competing online against people like Thomann who do not have this. Key differentiator, you're actually local. Bizarre. Secondly, pretty much human. So you're right, Zoe was talking earlier about emotion and passion and enthusiasm. Yeah, these people actually rev you up when you want to do something. They can tell you not only how to do it, they can give you personal advice, but they actually make it something that you want to do. So you take it out When you take it out, you can take it into your local community. Okay, so I've got an example here of a school, but it could be any other group in the community, the scouts, the over 55s, the people down your local leisure centre. You can get into those groups like they can't. They're trying to work from a different country. So local retailers have this advantage, and I know this is not what local retailer looks like. Local retailers, you start a shop and you put products in the window. Okay, but this is the point. The point is you're now competing in a world where your differentiator is not the product. It's what you do with it. Okay, so advantages of being local. So when you've worked out what it is you do in the value chain that's actually going to be adding value to your customers, you want to make sure you focus on those differentiators. So here we have someone who's clearly far more mature than Moss. He's smiley, happy, could give you personal advice and be enthusiastic. And if you take away the generic component of simply shipping a box, a commodity item with a model number on it and a till, what do you have left? You have left all the fun things. You have left the fact that this person's actually going to be passionate about it. Moss, is not surprised to hear, is actually a musician, loves what he sells. And I bet that's true of the local retailers. I bet these are things you actually enjoy. Are they related, or do you think, hey, I'm going to start a local retail business because I make loads of money? You're actually into this business because you like what you do. You give personal guidance, absolutely. So it's not just generic review information about products, but actually I can listen to your needs. Hands-on, absolutely. Who was talking about that? Yes, he said, you can take it back if you want to. And you can be part of the local community. I know I'm drumming on about this, but this is because this is a shift for local retail. Okay, so once you've done that, you promote yourself, and this time using the internet. Now notice the difference here. We're talking about using the internet today to best advantage and what we can do with that. And primarily people think, oh, I'm going to list loads of products. And of course, in some ways you have to do that. But what I want to talk about now is promoting these differences. And let's just have a little brief old history tour of where we've gone with the internet. Before I start, who here can list me some ways of promoting yourself on the internet? This should be everyone in the room should be standing on their feet and shouting, what are the ways we can do it? Sorry? Twitter. Quiet couple at the back. Facebook. Fantastic. Intellectual group over there. LinkedIn. Fantastic. And we can go on and on and on. All the sort of things that we're talking about today. But let's just have a brief warning talk about promoting on the internet. Okay, so as you'll remember, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, my business was promoting people on the internet, and indeed part of that was gaining a percentage if I did well. And I would tell people, look, there's hundreds of search engines out there, you need to get promoted, pay me, and I'll get you registered on 400 different search engines. Do you remember those days? 400 different search engines, that's what you need to do. Okay, and about 6 months later, we all said, you know, the thing is about Google, they look at the content on your site. And they try and work out what you do. And the more you say you do what you do, the more important they think you are. So let's stuff loads of words everywhere. We'll put it in the title, we'll put it in the meta description, we'll put it in the content. Not only will we put it in once, we'll put it in 3 times, because that's more important. Okay, so that was 6 months later. Then we went on and we went, okay, you know what? Google's now making it possible for you to buy adverts. And you only have to pay 5p. Do you remember 5p? You can buy 5p for an advert. You don't even have to pay the p until someone clicks on it. How brilliant is that? Let's all go on and put ads. Pay me, I'll put your ads on for you. And then about 3 minutes later, everyone lost loads of money putting adverts on because it's very, very easy to buy adverts, but it's much, much harder to make money buying adverts and selling your stuff. So how far were we here? It was like 10 years ago, 400 search engines. Then what do? Stuff keywords. We're buying adverts, and then we're not buying adverts. And now links are the thing. Get the page rank of your site up. If people link to your site, that means you're more important. So let's go to someone and ask them to swap a link with your website. And then after a while, Google realizes that actually you're just swapping links with each other. Just do it in a triangle. I'll swap it with you, you swap it with him, he swaps with me. Great, now I've got a triangle going. Oh, Google spotted that. That doesn't work anymore. Tell you what, let's go out to a link server farm in Asia, buy 1,000 computers that are all linked back to my website. Isn't that brilliant? Pay me. I'll go and make it happen for you. Then, okay, so Google's trying to work out what I do, and I can't stuff keywords on my site anymore. They've spotted that. So let me write articles about what I do, shove it on other people's websites, maybe news websites and stuff like that. And I can put a little byline on the bottom that says, by me. That's brilliant. And Google thinks I'm brilliant. So we've done registering, stuffing keywords, putting articles on. Well, there's a danger that Google is now looking at how many times you're liked and how many times people tweet about you. And people are going, right, okay, so we need to get liked. Let's run a competition where we get liked. That's brilliant. We get loads of likes and people will then see us on Google. That's fantastic. Okay, you might be thinking, hold on a second. That's what I thought I came here today. I wanted to learn all about those things. Okay, but the problem is we're putting the horse before the cart, or the cart before the horse. I get confused. The problem is here, we're using their techniques, but we're forgetting why we're doing them at all. None of those techniques are for the benefit of the customer. They're all trying to promote our business. And there's a big change that's happened in about the last 18 months. 2 big changes. Well, in fact, the last 5 years in one of them. Over the last 5 years, the internet population in the UK has gone from 50% to 85%. So 85% of the population of the UK uses the internet. That sort of means you've got to be under 3 years old or over 95 to not be using the internet. Everyone else using the internet. So massively, communities start springing up. Massive, healthy communities start using the internet. First big change. Second big change. Google is getting a lot cleverer. It now knows if I'm stuffing it with keywords, if I'm doing loads of links. It knows all about that. So actually, it's getting better at reading the signals from everyone else on the internet. So it used to be that I could stand here with a microphone, and I could give you my message. You could start up a local retail business. You could say, hey, this is what I do. But to be honest, your message is absolutely drowned out by what everyone else says you do, and however good you might be at it. So now whatever you say online, whether you're putting content on your site or you're writing a Facebook competition, which is all still a good thing to do, you've got to actually be doing the thing that you say beforehand. Otherwise, you'll get found out and Google will not look at you. You will not get the business that you expect from the marketing effort you're putting in. So first of all, it has to be authentic. And as we all know, if you can fake authenticity, you can fake anything. So that's my just little note there. You need to promote yourself on the internet. If you're going to promote yourself on the internet, the first thing you have to do is actually do the thing you say you're going to do, and then promote yourself, not the other way around. Okay, so Google is looking for a justification. Why should it produce you? And I'm talking about Google all the time because we know there's thousands of other search engines out there, but 85% of the people in the UK use Google. Not in the US, Yahoo's stronger, but over here, we just talk about Google. We can argue about that in a geekoid breakout meeting later on, but we're going to talk about Google. So Google is looking to justify you well. What are the things you should be doing in order to get well ranked? Well, I'm going to talk about the ones that overlap the things we've talked about, that distinguish you. First of all, you're local, so make it very easy to find out where you are. And by that I mean, if you're going to talk about yourself online, make sure you have a standard phone number and address. Because the phone number is one of the key pieces of identity that Google uses to identify your business. So don't have 2 phone numbers, don't have a / other number. Put one number, keep it the same, make sure you use it in every piece of communication and documentation. Similarly with the address, make sure you know whether you include the town or the county, which postcode exactly you use, etc. Register on Google Places. Who here is on Google Places? Hey, fantastic. For those who haven't bothered raising their arm, here's a picture of Google Places. It's free. You go and register on it, and you put your details on. Anyone who hasn't done this, I can't remember if I've done it. Mark up your website. Okay, so marking up your website means changing the HTML behind your website so that Google knows what you're talking about. And this feels a little bit like stuffing if you're not careful. But actually, if we look at a beautiful footer to a website that I happen to have decided to use, you'll see not only is it heavily promoting where you are, it's got a little map, it's got an address, that's a standard address, that's a standard phone number. But actually behind the scenes, there's some little markup going on here, which is helping Google understand, and any other browser, for example, exactly what it is we're talking about. This is my name, this is my address, this is my phone number, etc., etc. So little hints that tell Google exactly what it's looking at. And every time you talk about your business, make sure that you include where you are. Because every time someone talks about you in the press, whether that be printed or whether it be on a blog, you want to mention your town so everyone understands where you're doing your business. Okay, engage with your community. And then encourage them. So what you're looking for is every time you engage with your community, the feedback, the payment you want is the fact that they'll tell people about it. So remember, I'm not here saying, how do I get tweeted about? I'm saying I engage and then I reflect in that engagement, not the other way around. Create useful content. Who here can list for me what sort of useful content we might be talking about on the website? Thank you, Zoe. Testimonials, products of use, blogs. Okay, all of the above. And indeed, one might say, own that topic. What's the danger of going down this route? Why have I put it third and not first? Okay, what have I been talking about? What's our distinctive value here? Is it that I can talk about a particular product generally? And the answer is no. The answer is I want to talk about stuff that only I know about. So if you're going to put content on that says like top 10 products, remember you've got a team of 60 people in Thoman, or the equivalent in your industry, trying to fire against you, and they've got bigger guns. If you start saying the most popular musical instruments used by my local school, name of local school, all of a sudden you've done something they can't do. So if you're going to do content, yes, do content. But try and encourage it to be local, try it to be personally recommendation. Try and do all the things that are going to make you distinctive as a local retailer. Local supporters, we had an excellent talk from Matt about emails. Fantastic work, and indeed, it used to be this part. Yeah, get yourself a newsletter list. But the key thing here is the local. As Moss recognises, the loyalty of your customers, the local ones are far more loyal. And that's because you're able to talk to them through multiple channels. You're able to talk to them through a website. You're able to talk to them through your email, and you're able to talk to them because you're in the high street and they can actually come past you. So know who your local people are, not necessarily using email, using all of the techniques you might use to find your local supporters. Know who they are and use them because they're going to be producing you the most margin. Tom, are you allowing for my power outages in that 5 minutes? Yeah, okay. Don't do online marketing. I'd almost put a full stop there. Don't do online marketing. Don't do online marketing just for the sake of it. Do it because it's actually reflecting what you are actually doing. So do the thing first, then use online marketing. It's really easy. It's really easy to sit at home when you're running a small business and you're sitting there at 10 o'clock at night and you're thinking, you know, I could be writing some content, or I could be starting a pay-per-click advert because it's just me and a desk and I can do that. But actually, unless you're thinking about your differentiators, how am I going to go out into the community? No one likes doing that sort of stuff necessarily. How do I get out there and start talking to them about stuff? And then I start putting that content on my website. So make sure you get it around the right way. That's what this is all about. Okay, so we talked about some things you should do. Here's a key thing you shouldn't do. Don't do non-distinctive tasks. What do I mean by non-distinctive task? A non-distinctive task is something that doesn't set you apart from your competitors. Why? Because you're a small retailer. You have less resource to draw on than the bigger guys out there who are national and international. You are going to fail if you go head-to-head on the non-distinctive tasks. Who can give me an example of a non-distinctive task? You're a small retailer. Non-distinctive task, something that doesn't set you apart from your international people. I'm going to call on Zoe again. Yeah, descriptions that the manufacturers give you. I would almost broaden that and say putting up products, to some extent, is a generic process. You don't want to be spending your valuable time doing that, okay? I'm not saying there's an easy way out. I'm just saying this is a problem. You've got to work out how to not be doing that. Who can give me a distinctive task, something that only you can do because you're local? Not you, Zoe. Quiet group of 4 at the back. Something only you can do because you're a local retailer. Looking at your notes, that's impressive. I'm going to call on Liz if you don't say anything. Liz. Organise a local event. Absolutely right. So we're going to cover that off in a second. Right, so we don't have a lot of time. We've got to remember, People have said we can't do it. Okay, so if we don't have a lot of time, we've got to be spending the time we do have on the stuff that makes a difference. Distinctive, working with your local communities, spot on, arranging your shop window, being local and changing what you look like, doing the in-shop guidance, the sensitivity to what people are talking about, and creating the demo areas. You go into stage beat, you can pick up a guitar, you can plug it in, you can sit on an amplifier. I think this is all true. Things you're not allowed to do, excuse the fonts. Having a warehouse. Local retailers love having a warehouse. They say, I've got a warehouse, I don't need a warehouse, I'll have my warehouse. And I will pick and pack. Moss, how much fun has it been running your own warehouse for 10 years? Thank you. Okay, it's hard work doing logistics, running your own warehouse, and I know there isn't a lot of margin in local retail. So the first thing you want to do is you go, oh, I'm not paying anyone else to do this, I can do this. And every time you are doing that, you are doing a non-distinctive task. Everyone assumes you've got product, everyone assumes you can ship it. I know, Tom, I hear the time ticking away. Okay, so minimize the effort on the non-distinctive tasks. But we haven't got a lot of time, not just today. But the internet is moving at a fair old pace. So we've got to make sure that we're continually checking our borders. I know it's very nice to come here today, and I'm really pleased that you have. But today will be different in 6 months' time, different in 12 months' time. Are you continuing to add your distinctive value? You will go home and you'll forget about this, and you'll go, oh, I'm just going to upload some product and start a website. Am I promoting what makes me different as a local retailer? Am I not doing the stuff that's generic? And am I continuing to learn? These are absolutely critical to the next 6 and 12 months in your business, in my view. Okay, so there we are. I've spoken about successful online retailing. And as we know, everyone's unique. Everyone's different. And we've got a couple of minutes now to take some questions, because I hope I've provoked some thoughts. But we're also around for the rest of the day, so have a great day. And if you'd like to ask any of us any questions, please do so now or after the meeting. Thank you very much.
Well done, James. Well done after your technology nightmare. Moss, I've got a question for you. How do you actually compete with these German guys you mentioned?
Well, it's getting more and more difficult, because that's one of the things that we've got. We were online, we've been there about 10 years, initially very, very good. We did all the things that actually James is talking about there, pay-per-click and search engines, and we've got thousands of products, but it's just become harder and harder for when people are searching online for a red Fender guitar. Well, I've got it, so has someone else in England, and so has someone in Scotland, and of course so are the big places like Amazon and Thomann, who we're talking about in Germany. So the only thing that we're able to do now is to try and focus on the local content and compete like that, and find out the local schools, the local music venues, anything that's local, and that's the way we're trying to compete online now. And it's been a very slow process, but now we are actually seeing the benefit of that. We're seeing footfall through our retail store increase because we're advertising it online and promoting it online, and that's really the only thing that we've got, is to try and maximize what we do locally and our knowledge. We're having little guitar talks in the shop. We're having talks about how to improve your sound, PA systems, anything that's to do with performing music and getting people into the store like that.
So the message is build a local community of enthusiasts and support them in... And are you seeing an increase in your local sales and a reduction in your online sales?
Yes, we're definitely seeing an increase in the local sales, definitely. And we have been seeing a reduction in the online sales, not because we're focusing locally, but because that whole market is becoming so diffused amongst hundreds and in fact thousands of websites. So we're competing with so many websites in the UK, internationally, Amazon, Argos, Toys R Us. They're all doing musical equipment now, but none of them talk about it. And if you phone them, they don't know anything about the equipment. And we get all the calls, and people often coming into the store and just browsing the store, testing everything, and then buying it elsewhere. So long as we can be competitive on price, and we are, then people would actually prefer to buy from the local store if you're competitive price-wise. Why would they want to buy from a German store if they can just get it from you? You can either deliver it, or they can come and pick it up and walk out with it. And that's what we need to do. And the more people are using mobile phones and so on, they're actually finding us on the mobile phone, and it's saying, you know, you're 2 miles away from a music shop, and we're getting them to come in that way because we're promoting our actual location.
So any questions for James or Mark or Moss before we have our coffee? Yes, madam. So how are you competitive on price, Moss?
Well, we're just trying to buy as carefully as we can from our suppliers, and suppliers themselves have not really been concerned about what price you're selling something for, because all they want to do is shift more boxes. But they are realizing, and I mean, we've been doing it for a long time now, we work with some really big suppliers, that unless they can make it affordable for you to buy their product and be competitive, then they're not going to have any retailers left. And you've got a few really big retailers around the world, and it's the tail wagging the dog. And these big retailers are now demanding better and better prices from the suppliers. So the suppliers are now helping us and giving us better prices. And so although we're not making the margins that we used to, we are still making a margin. It's a reduced margin, but we are now able to compete on price. And we might occasionally be slightly more expensive, but overall, we're pretty much the same price as all our big competitors, but we're local, and that's the only differentiating factor that we've got. And we're telling people, come down, try the guitars out, try the microphones out, come and talk to us about it, and they are. And providing we can be at the same price or very close, we'll get that sale. And the website's really helping us drive business into the retail store, and we're still selling online, and we're still shipping around the country. It's tough, it's tight, but we're trying to get rid of all the things that we don't do well, which is like picking, packing, and all that sort of thing. We're trying to outsource that and get help feeding products into our website and that kind of thing.
Great, thank you. Any more questions for Moss or for James? Yes, madam.
How do you get around the problem that you still don't have such a large product range as some of your bigger competitors?
Well, one of the things, I'm sure anyone who's got a website, you find the same thing. It's incredibly time expensive to be uploading products yourself, and you know, suppliers bring out a new one, and then it's a blue color, and then it's a light blue, and then it's constantly changing. So what we're trying to do is try and automate that process, and we're experimenting at the moment with a couple of methods. In fact, James can tell you more about that if you speak to him afterwards, of where there are companies out there who are now going to the suppliers, feeding all the data in there, and then we can just simply take an automated feed, so we're not having to manually upload products or manually update cost prices and images and things like that, because it takes too long to do. So if we can get that process off our hands, and all we have to do is focus on writing interesting content around the guitars that's not generic. It's not completely unique, but it's talking from my voice and from the other staff in the shop, and that's what's making the difference. And then Google is differentiating because they're seeing hundreds of websites who've just got the same description of the product. This is the best guitar you can buy, or whatever it is. But ours is slightly different, and Google's saying, well, there's 10 websites all with the same content, and there's StageBeat with slightly different. Well, we find ourselves ranking better, and of course, if you're searching, Google's starting to find out where you're searching from. So if you're in Hampshire and you're online looking for guitars, well, it will help rank us better because we're in Hampshire.
Brilliant. Well done, James. Well done, Moss. Mark. Thank you. We're going to have coffee now. Give him a round of applause. Well done, James.
Round of applause for the coffee.